For weeks now, we have seen protest after protest all across the country as Americans have pushed back against this strategy, pushed back against what Donald Trump and his top campaign donor have been doing to the United States and to the federal government. Demonstrations all over the country. Now, the activist group Indivisible is planning for a big one. What they want to be a big central demonstration where everybody shows up in the same place. Saturday, April 5th, Indivisible is announcing what they're calling Hands Off, a nationwide mobilization to stop the most brazen power grab in modern history. Joining us now is Ezra Levin, co-executive director of Indivisible. Ezra, thank you for being with us tonight. I appreciate it.
Of course, Rachel. Great to be here.
It's been a couple of weeks since we checked in. Tell me how Indivisible has been operating over these past few weeks. I know the president and Republican members of Congress have started to talk about you as if you are some sort of like foreign terrorist threat or something. We know that you've got their attention. How have things been from Indivisible's perspective?
Look, we're going through what's known as a wave moment in organizing circles at Indivisible. We had more local Indivisible groups join. These are volunteers. Start local Indivisible groups in their community in November than any month since 2017. We beat the November month in December, beat the December month in January, beat the January month in February. It's mid-March. We've had over 100 local Indivisible groups join, and these are peaceful protesters shown up to make their voices heard in red states, purple states, blue states. So how's it going? Well, the opposition is taking note and criticizing us, so I think it's going pretty darn well.
What's the plan for April 5th, and how is that different from the other kinds of actions that you guys have been taking part in?
So for the last several weeks, we've been hearing from old and new Indivisible group leaders, hey, we're all getting together. We're doing these actions locally. But when do we actually really hit the streets? When do we all show up en masse? That's what this is. I want to be clear. This is not just Indivisible. We're partnering with the brilliant folks over at 5051, with labor, with lots of other folks. But this is an organic, energy-fed moment. Anybody who is watching this can sign up and register an event in their community to say, look, hands off our jobs, hands off our democracy, hands off our volcano observatories. My God. We need to show up because DOGE and this administration is negatively impacting all of us.
Now, Senator, you held a virtual town hall earlier this week to sound the alarm about what this administration and DOGE is doing to Social Security. A lot of our viewers and listeners are concerned about this. We're seeing more and more Americans turning out for community forums, especially in Republican districts, demanding answers about the mass government layoffs and interruptions to vital government services. Do you get the sense that many voters are getting fed up with the chaos being caused by President Trump so far in his second term?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think polling numbers show it. And I think the fact that Republicans can't go and have a town hall themselves any longer because they've angered their constituents so much also shows it. People, I think, are fed up with this. And the danger to Social Security, I think, is very real. You know, watch that carefully. Trump lies, and one of his lies is that he won't touch Social Security. But he sent in Musk and those doggy boys, the muskrats, to wreck up stuff in Social Security. And the former commissioner, Governor O'Malley, says that the wreckage that they're doing will lead to interruptions in benefits. And at that point, he comes in and says, oh, look, I broke Social Security. We have an emergency. Let's fix it. Let's get the private equity people and the big data people in here to run Social Security.
There is, this moment, I think it's fair to say, a broad frustration with what we just saw from a handful of Senate Democrats led by the leader, Chuck Schumer. Everyone from Senator Bernie Sanders to former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger and lots of people in between opposed the effort to allow Trump's continued assault on the federal government. Folks wanted to draw a line in the sand and say we cannot operate under the normal set of political rules here. And as painful as shutting down the government might be, the Democrats, as the opposition, needed to use any leverage available to them. Leader Schumer and 9 other Democratic senators saw it differently. They all voted to move to a vote on the shutdown vote to continue to fund the government. It's dispiriting. It's even infuriating to a lot of folks. But we've been saying on this program, the bulwark against tyranny in this country is not politicians. It's us. All of us in every walk of life who hold fast to the American promise of government of, by, and for the people, not the debased whims of a wannabe dictator and billionaire weirdos. No kings, not ever. If there was any good news on this otherwise bleak day, it's every single hour of every single day, folks are waking up, and there is a dawning awareness that it's time to fight back. Donald Trump's project is as clear as day. He wants to dismantle the system of self-governance and checks and balances and to create a presidential dictatorship that does not depend on the will of the people. His model is Turkey, Russia, Hungary, places where the strong man rules no matter what, and you don't get a say, whether there are elections or not. That is his goal. It's clear as day. He basically enunciates it daily. And everyone else needs to be asking, how do you stop that from happening? How can you use whatever nonviolent tools are at your disposal to stop this unlawful power grab? How can we, as Americans, as supporters of democracy and the Constitution, build a united front across ideological lines in defense of marginalized people, the ones he's coming for first, in an almost literal reenactment of the famous Niemöller poem, in defense of working and middle-class people against the pillaging of oligarchs, heck, in defense of elites and powerful people who are using their platforms and power to preserve the American way of life. Right now, it doesn't seem like Democratic leadership understands that yet. But in many ways, and I know this sounds weird to say it right now, they are simply not what's important here. Stay focused on what's important. People are what's important. We're what's important. Public opinion is what's important. Civil society is what's important. And it's getting activated and organized every single day. Every day, the movement is growing. I mean, Republican representatives are being told to stop holding town halls because their own voters will not stop showing up to yell at them about what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing.
I was proud to vote recently for the House budget resolution, which provides the framework to we should abolish the U.S. Department of Education. The decisions need to be made back on the state level.
I believe that the president is very supportive of Ukraine. Like him or not, Elon Musk has brought a lot of really smart people to Doge.
And you wonder why folks don't want to do these town halls.
Wonder. The protests against Musk don't end there. There's something really remarkable happening right now. I'm not sure people have really quite gotten their arms around this. We are seeing this organic, bottom-up movement against Musk's signature company, Tesla. Some activists just put up a website with a simple message, right? Sell your Teslas, dump your stock. And then an entire Tesla takedown movement has sprung up in response. And they've got a map where all the protests are planned all across the country. It's been happening for about a month. This weekend alone, there are more than 100 protests planned at dealerships, Tesla dealerships across the country, from Brooklyn to Toledo, Dallas to Grand Rapids, Raleigh, dozens more. There are even, as you might see there, a handful planned in Canada and the UK. And I'm going to tell you something. I wager next weekend there will be even more, and the weekend after that more. Because this is growing every single day. And it's not Democratic leadership in Congress organizing the protests. It's just everyday folks who are fed up and want to make their voices heard. And it's having an insanely outsized effect. I mean, Tesla's sales are just cratering. The stock price has seen all of its post-election gains vanish. Musk's personal wealth has declined by more than $125 billion since the beginning of the year. That's because of this. And that's why Donald Trump had to turn the White House into a car lot this week and cut an ad for his co-president's fleet of vehicles. While the Attorney General of the United States effectively tried to threaten folks with jail time if they voiced their dissatisfaction with Musk's company.
If you're going to touch a Tesla, go to a dealership, do anything, you better watch out because we're coming after you.
Wow.
And
Well,
if you're funding this, we're coming after you. We're going to find out who you are.
If you go to a dealership? No. We've all got a First Amendment right to stand on a sidewalk with signs outside a dealership. Doesn't matter what Pine Bondi says. By all accounts, this is not being funded by some big funder. It's a grassroots movement. Some people are organizing. They're putting up a website. And at any rate, it doesn't seem like those scare tactics are working. I would hazard they only make people want to protest more. Today, hundreds of veterans and their family members and loved ones rallied near Capitol Hill in protest of Musk's cuts to the federal government, many of which target veterans who worked at the government and have been fired or are serviced by the government directly. Yesterday, 100 demonstrators got arrested after hundreds more occupied the lobby of Trump Tower in Manhattan to protest the unlawful detention of the Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's taken a little while for people to sort of understand what they're seeing, because it's shocking and it's surreal, but it's just the beginning. There's a lot more work to be done. So yes, some of the Democratic leadership is disappointing a lot of people right now, but they're elected to represent us. They're going to follow what the people do. And so we have to show them what needs doing. Faz Shakir served as a senior advisor to Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. He's currently executive director of More Perfect Union and a senior advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders. Rebecca Traister is a writer at large in New York Magazine. She wrote about the shutdown fight on her Substack. They both join me now. Faz, let me start with you because, you know, I'm always very aware of the fact that in politics, particularly when it comes to sort of legislative actions and tactics, there really is a lot of backseat driving and a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking and a lot of like, you should have thrown the ball to that guy who was open. And it's like, yeah, well, it's a little harder than it looks. So I'm genuinely aware of that. Like, I know that's true, and I've covered the Hill long enough.
So there's a reason why Trump or at least other Republicans, Trump, whoever, is canceling these events that they're doing. And it's because of people like you protesting. And let's be clear, I've, had moments on this channel where I've praised Democrats, especially people like AOC. I'm a big fan of her. Jasmine Crockett does a lot of good. Jamie Raskin, Bernie Sanders, Liz. I've praised Democrats, but it's also clear that there are going to be moments where Democrats like Chuck Schumer, I'm sorry to say, are going to drop the friggin' ball. But what's important to remember at this moment is that they're not the only ones. And that even when they fail, you, the people, make it happen. And all of these protests by progressives, by moderates, by Republicans in some cases, by people that aren't even especially political but are being affected in their lives, all of the people concerned for their neighbors, their community, they are all being awoken by Donald Trump's disastrous moves. And it's gotten to the point that Republicans can't be seen in public right now. Because if they are, the people are mad. And the people have always been, angry with their officials, and Trump's never been popular. Let's be clear about that. Even now, he's less unpopular than he's been historically, but he's still the most unpopular new president in modern American history. Presidents are almost way more popular right now because they get a honeymoon. Trump didn't get a honeymoon because everyone knew he sucked, and even his mini honeymoon is gone now because everyone remembered just how much he sucked. And the reason is, yes, some Democrats, but the biggest reason is that when you're protesting in the streets, they can't ignore you.